You're missing at least one of these four things when you get shots up, and it's the reason why you continue to struggle to make shots in games. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through what these four things are and how you can use them in your own training to always be in the zone and guarantee that you make way more of your shots in actual games. Before I get into anything, why should you listen to me? Well, my name is Coach Ross. Over the past 7 years, I've been using science and experience to help hoopers shoot better in actual games. And in doing so, I have found methods that are proven to turn bad and average shooters into the best shooters they know. Personally, I played Division II basketball for 4 years, won 102 games, 3 conference championships, and went to an Elite 8. I graduated from New York Medical College in 2021 with my doctorate in physical therapy, where I learned a ton about, obviously, pain management and physical rehabilitation, but I also stumbled upon something called motor learning research, which is the study of how people learn physical skills. I applied this research to my patients, clients, and athletes over the last 5-ish years to make them better at whatever they wanted to get better at, including shooting a basketball. Currently, I work with hundreds of hoopers in New Jersey and thousands online through the Goodrill system. To date, I've worked with hundreds of college basketball players at the Division I, II, and III level, some of the best high school players in the country, where I am applying and refining my understanding of developing the complete basketball athlete, which again includes helping players make more shots in actual games. So that's a sum up of my credentials. In this video, I'm going to walk you through my accumulated understanding and experience teaching players how to shoot better so you can avoid the mistakes that many players make. Specifically, I will be walking through what I like to call the 4 C's of shot development. So what are they, why are they important, and how to actually use them in your training. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete understanding of what you need to do in your training to make more of your shots in actual games. If that sounds like a good deal, then sit back and lock in. Let's get to it. Just a quick story first. So in college, I was a player that valued the amount of shots I got up more than anyone else on the team. And I got up thousands of shots. I mean, I would go on stretches where I would be in the Krause Fitness Center, which is the gym at St. Thomas Aquinas College, getting up 1,000 makes on the shooting machine for days in a row at a time. But spoiler alert, it didn't work. I vividly remember one of my teammates telling my coach that he feels worse after getting shots up. And it's something that I completely scoffed at the time. Yet, I was the one missing shots in games, and he would make shots in games. It made me realize that there's a very different thing that he had and other players that were good at shooting had, and they understood that I didn't have. They had the inside scoop on something I clearly didn't understand, and I always thought more reps are better. And the problem wasn't the reps inherently, it was the thing I was lacking, and the reps was a way for me to feel okay with not doing well because, hey, at least I did my best. But like for so many hoopers, it was easy for me to put more reps in than anybody else. I was perfecting my form. It is something I could control, yet yielded little results. What the other players ultimately had control over was their focus on making the shot and tuning everything else out. This is how they got into the zone. They did things to help them focus more on what matters and less on what doesn't. Shooting 1,000 shots a day didn't increase my focus on making more shots, and it didn't decrease my focus on everything else. And this is what I've really tapped into over the past 7 years, and it's what I'm going to share with you right now. So here are the 4 C's of shot training, which is just how I break it down so that players can easily understand and use it. Again, I'm going to go through the what, why, and how for each. So let's start with the first C, coasting. What is it? Coasting is training in a way where there is no goal other than the goal of simply paying attention. As the name suggests, you are coasting, simply waiting and being completely patient while doing something. The key here is simply not trying to do anything or implement anything. It isn't about correcting yourself or getting better. It is simply about being open and receptive to any signal that happens to come through. Just simply catch any thoughts, feelings, and movements, notice them, and let them go. For every player that I have given this to, it has changed their shot extremely rapidly. It is also something that I believe the best players in the world do to some extent. What's the purpose of this? So the why. It allows you to reel in your focus. There are tons of things that we are all constantly focused on that simply don't matter. And it takes away focus from the one thing that actually matters, in this case, making shots. An example of this is when you are afraid to shoot in actual games or there's a defender closing out on you, you make less of those shots as compared to when you're just outside by yourself. This is because when you're outside by yourself, there's nothing distracting you from the goal. It's pretty simple. The only way to reel in that focus from the things that don't matter so that we can give more focus on the goal is by paying attention to anything that is not the goal when they come up. By having the goal of literally waiting and paying attention, you will be able to find these things and understand them, which will lead to taking appropriate action. Why don't you do this, and why don't other players do this? The first reason is that it could bring up bad feelings because there's very little stimulus distracting you from them. 2, you don't get the motivation of completing anything. It's not like you're going to be getting up 1,000 shots and you could check a box off. 3, you get too bored while you do it. 4, you don't have the experience of patience helping you. And 5, you simply don't know that it's a possibility. The amount that I talk about challenge, people will think that it's weird for me to advocate for something like coasting, but I'm telling you, it's uncomfortable. When getting up thousands of reps is challenging you, it's helping you. The problem is a lot of players don't move on from the rep game and they continue to just check the box of getting up 1,000 reps or 500 reps because it helped them in the past. The thing about coasting is that, in my opinion at least, it is boundless in the stimulus that it could provide. Your ability to pay attention and increase your sensitivity can always expand if you work on it by not having a goal. Real quick, I want to present some research on this because of how left field this can seem to some. So, Optimal Theory, presented by Gabrielle Wolf in 2016, is a massive review of motor learning and motor performance, mainly in the context of sports. And I'm definitely not going to present the whole thing here and talk about the entire thing, but I'm going to put a link to the PubMed article in the description below. But the theory partially looks at the effects of autonomy, which is essentially giving control to players when it comes to what you actually do in training, and mindfulness training on the ability to increase success in a motor task like shooting. Sneak peek, they're both good. They both are linked to reductions in stress, improved decision making, enhanced automaticity, which is just effortless pretty much, and the big one, a greater use of an external focus of attention, which is focus on the goal, focus on the one thing that matters, focus on making shots. And that is essentially what coasting is about, a prioritization of being present. So how can we do this for shooting? The answer is by just shooting. Not for reps, not for form, not for nothing. Just shoot and pay attention. So set a timer for 15 to 30 minutes, shoot from the top of the key area or free throw line, walk to get your rebound, walk back to the spot, and shoot again. I just want you to be curious enough to try this one time. You can't listen to music or talk to anyone. There is no distraction. There is only a timer that you must obey and continue to do coasted shooting while paying attention until the timer goes off. And yes, you are shooting to make the shot, but there's no pressure to make the shot. Over time, you will start to notice the things you do, the things you think, and the things that you react to subconsciously. Maybe you will notice that you start to think about shooting in games and the fear that you have when your coach is about to take you out or gets mad at you for shooting. It could be anything. Maybe you'll notice that you just want to think about your form on every single shot. Maybe you'll notice that you don't like how your shot feels. Maybe you'll even imagine a defender closing out on you. The key is you're not actively trying to do these things. You're simply noticing yourself doing these things as you continue to shoot. Coming to the conclusion for yourself rather than somebody else trying to verbally communicate to you is the key, because the experience of doing it yourself will actually translate into something potentially fruitful. This is also something that is talked about heavily in the optimal theory. But I'm not saying that words are bad or being taught verbally is bad. But words that don't lead to experience or exploration will not make change. The problem with words is that there are so many different ways that it will be interpreted and then manifested behaviorally. But on the other hand, when you experience something for yourself, there is no loss of understanding. When people want to abide by a certain checklist for improvement, it is a problem because this is not how improvement works. Improvement works by increasing your focus on the one thing that matters in every moment. So coasting, done. The next C is considering. What is considering? Considering is when you experiment with things that are interesting to you, things that you picked up on at some point, maybe while you were coasting. These could be movements, game concepts, drills, emotions, anything that you want to specifically try out or experiment with. You can even measure certain things here if you would like and have the ability to. But the key with considering, again, is that it's not about a result. It is about testing different things. The difference between coasting and considering is that when you are considering, you are actively looking for something and experimenting with things, while when you're coasting, it is about waiting and just paying attention and then ultimately disregarding how you feel. An example of this is when you are coasting, you are noticing that you are avoiding getting into the right position for your shot because of knee pain. Now, if you continue coasting, you will just feel it, let it pass, and keep on shooting. Maybe there'll be some automatic changes that happen. But if you are considering, that means that your main focus becomes trying positions, drills, and movements that help you overcome this knee pain to allow you to get into the positions that you want to get into. I think the longer you can stay in the coasting phase without actively trying to change anything, the more you will be able to appropriately make adjustments when you move on to considering. Again, this can be anything. Maybe you notice that your shot feels smoother when you get your legs under your shot, so you start experimenting with movements, drills, and techniques that assist you in getting that feeling of your legs being under your shot. Just to give you context on what considering could entail, one of the things that some of the best shooters I played with would consistently do is when they get back from an injury, they would shoot way more in practice than they normally would before the injury. They would be sure to assert themselves even if it would be uncomfortable or maybe feel like they are stepping on other people's toes. So this doesn't just have to be about a physical thing or a skillful thing that you feel. Like, they would reassume their role on the team. And if you put this in terms of the 4 C's, first, they were coasting when they were just sitting on the bench when they're injured in practice and games, just watching how people socially carry themselves on the court, the decisions that they make, the role that the other players on the team are trying to assume. So they're just paying attention to that. Then in their considering phase, they would return from the injury. They would socially experiment with overshooting just in order to feel and notice reactions from the things that they are trying. So they paid attention and then they tried things based on the things that they noticed. So here's how to do it. In your notes section on your phone, you're going to write down anything that captures your attention when it comes to your shooting ability. This could be at any time of the day, while you're playing, while you're training, after you do your coasting, anything. Then you're going to go spend 15 to 30 minutes every single day experimenting with those movements, ideas, drills, etc. During the coasting practice, it is about trying a bunch of different things and connecting to something that feels right. This is an answer that you have to find. Something to realize, though, about this is that these things can change over time, right? A lot of players get hooked on describing their shot form in a certain way and then trying to stick to that description with the way they shoot, because at one point, those words felt right to them, but then at some point, you're just trying to force it and then it doesn't make sense anymore. For example, like when players get obsessed with keeping their elbow in at one point, maybe there was a smooth feeling associated with keeping your elbow in. But now it just became words and a box to check, but it doesn't actually yield the outcome that they want anymore. I don't want you to do this here. This is a trap. What considering is all about is genuinely feeling something that is challenging, makes you smoother, feel better about your shot, effortless, less energy. It just feels right. A couple of examples of this could be shooting from really far, shooting really high, shooting with one hand, even visualizing that you're in a game and paying attention to the feelings that come up. The example I gave before about when players come back from injury, shooting with a heavy ball, different ways of setting your feet. It literally can be anything that you're experimenting with. Active experimentation, and once you find something, you can stick with it and really groove it in. But again, it first starts with paying attention to how things feel over the results that it gives you with your shots. 15 to 30 minutes of considering every day, done. Now, the third C in the framework is challenge. What is it? Challenge, in this case, is when you push your focus to the edge of its ability. So we aren't reeling in your focus anymore. We are doing things that require more and a quicker rate of focus. When you were coasting and considering, you were making sure that you were solely paying attention to how you were not using your energy in the best way possible. But with challenge, on the other hand, it's about pushing the maximum amount of energy and focus that you have. Maybe in the considering phase, you are testing and grooving in a quarter turn shot, which is just when you jump in the air and then you turn 90 degrees in the air and shoot it. When you were doing it, you liked how it felt. It was helping you connect the dots in a certain way. It just felt right. But now you've taken that and you put it into the challenge phase. So instead of just doing a 90-degree turn, you're working on a half turn, which is 180 degrees, or a three-quarter turn, which is 270 degrees. And this pushes your shot to the edge of its ability into challenge. And how do you know that you're doing something that's challenging? You know if you're failing like 80 to 90% of the time during a single rep. So if you do 10 shots, you're only making like 1 or 2. Why would you challenge a skill like shooting to this level, to this degree? Well, there are 2 main reasons for it. The first reason is that it increases your maximum focus and rate of focus. When something is challenging to the point where your physical ability, so your speed, your power, your strength, range of motion, coordination, balance, etc., all of those reasons are why it's difficult, then it requires you to focus more and focus quicker. Because when it comes to the best shooters on this planet, they are simply more focused on the one thing that matters, making the shot. And if you get really good at shots in training where your focus is being pushed to this level, any shot that you will take in actual games will be easier and you will make more of them. The second reason why is that challenge leads to efficiency. If we go back to coasting and considering, the purpose of those 2 things is to find and experiment with anything that helps you use what you have in a more efficient way, physically, skillfully, reading the defense, understanding the game, emotionally, etc. And efficiency is important because it allows you to spend all of your focus, again, on the one thing that matters, making the shot. But the thing is, challenge does this as well. If you are physically being challenged, your body will both use more energy and find ways to make that energy more efficient. An easy example of this is when players shoot with a heavy ball. Players that have terrible hitches in their shot, a heavy ball cleans all of that up. Why is this? Because you simply cannot shoot inefficiently if you are going to reach the rim. Your body organizes based on the difficulty of the task. So, how do you use challenge in your shot training? You should start with what you're doing while you're considering, in that considering phase. So, take some of the things that you do while you're in the considering phase and bring them into your challenge work. I want you to spend 15 to 30 minutes every single day pushing your shooting to the edge of its ability. The more you can come up with clear rules of the drills, the more you will be able to challenge your ability. So, some examples of this: shooting from far away, jumping with a spin during your shot, shooting over something and making it, shooting while sitting, shooting really fast. There are so many ways you can challenge yourself, but really lean into the things that don't feel great, don't feel comfortable, because these are the things that will likely give you the most benefit. People often get super confused on what they should be doing to challenge their shot. And if you are and you want a full system that helps you understand that and so much more, then check out the Goodrill system. I've designed it to make it simple to actually challenge your skills, so your shooting, ball handling, finishing. And it also focuses on making you jump higher, dunk, become more athletic, and just overall will turn you into a player that dominates in actual games. The link for the Goodrill system is in the description of this video. But for now, that's it for challenging. So let's move on to the last C, which is competing. What is the competing phase of shooting? When there is someone else keeping you accountable to a certain standard or result. If you go all the way back to coasting, it is not about the result, it is about the process. On the other hand, competing is 100% about the result. You either win or lose. There should be a feeling or consequence when you win or lose. Like, how good are you at winning? It's a skill. The best players are able to draw from competitiveness to figure out solutions to win. The focus is able to rise because there is another human forcing you to be better. Why is competing important? It forces you to organize everything you have and then include the muscle of wanting to win and dominate. Without training that muscle, you will be lost and afraid in game situations. I see it all the time. With the competitive side to it, you are forced to learn how to maintain focus on domination despite the realistic aspect of another human being there that wants to stop you from being successful. How do you use competing for shot development? So you can take the things from the considering phase and challenging phase and you compete against somebody else for 15 to 30 minutes per day. So these can be racing type drills. An example of this is figure 8 shooting. These can be closeout type drills. An example of this is 2 throughs before your shot. It could be live decision-making drills, one-on-one with 1 dribble max. There are a variety of drills with a variety of different situations. The key is to focus on winning and dominating. This is how you build the competitive muscle, which is when you're in a game, you want all of your energy to be on making shots, scoring points, and burying the other team. If your focus is on that, you will make more of your shots. If your focus is not on that because you aren't working on it, then you will be lost or afraid in games. You cannot expect to make shots when you are feeling lost and afraid. If you have the goal of focus and domination, it will ground you. Again, the Goodrill system includes live shooting drills in every single workout that tie into the shooting training that's also in there. But I want you to notice how none of these 4 C's are about getting up 500 reps or fixing your form. Getting up 500 reps doesn't promote you to feel. It doesn't promote you to experiment. It doesn't promote you to challenge. It doesn't promote you to compete. It doesn't present ways of overcoming problems that you will have in actual games. And I'm not attacking the practice of getting up a lot of reps. I'm actually just challenging the people that do that and really think if they are going to get better in actual games. Or is it just a way to check the box with your training? Because good players say that they get up hundreds of shots, thousands of shots sometimes, but I promise you, there's something deeper happening when they do it. It's not about the fact that they got up 500 shots and now they're a good shooter. They don't do it to check the box. They have a focus. The problem is when players hear their favorite player getting up 500 shots, they want to do it too. They get some result from it in the beginning because it is challenging at first. It takes focus at first. It takes commitment at first, but then it doesn't serve you because it doesn't prioritize a certain focus. But if you train with the 4 C's, you will undoubtedly become a better shooter in actual games. I can promise you that the people that I've worked with that have implemented all 4 quickly become better shooters and are fearless, confident players in actual games. So I would highly suggest implementing these 4 C's to some degree in your training. That's it for this video. Make sure to both like and subscribe and check out the full training system below, the Goodrill system. It's in the description. But for now, I'll just see you in the next video.